afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Real Red Talk. This is your Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon news show. The timing's wrong. I don't know why I do that. It's Saturday afternoon, 4 minutes past 12. So yeah, technically it's afternoon show. We have the quotes from the Antony interview that we need to discuss. The lads have been on international duty. I want to take a closer look at their performances and how they've been doing. Will Donny van der Beek stay or go? There's reports coming out that he might be moving to Turkey. Plus much more. So make sure you get in the comment section, leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. Big up to Shreyas for joining me. How are we doing?
Yeah, doing perfectly well. Looking forward to the show.
Yeah, I just want to very quickly say our condolences go out to the 600 people in Morocco that have lost their life due to an earthquake. I believe it was. I just literally saw the news this morning and I was like, fucking hell. 600 people have died in an earthquake. So obviously our condolences go out to them. Very, very sad. And obviously in the grand scheme of things, Amrabat coming to us means nothing, but he is a Moroccan international, represents that country. He's one of ours now. It's like, you know, it's one of them. But yeah, we try and move. I want to kick things off with the Antony interview, Shreyas. So obviously we discussed on the show yesterday everything coming out from the other side. So from his ex-girlfriend and a couple of other women who were coming out with these reports of domestic abuse and stuff. And now Antony's had his say, and he's basically saying about this kind of domestic abuse situation. He said, it's something that doesn't cross my mind. I know the truth and it'll show up. I know there are a lot of people butchering me, but the truth comes out, he said. Speaking on the physical abuse, he added, I don't support this ever. It's totally wrong, 100% wrong. I have a mother, a sister, and I would never want this to happen to them. When his ex-girlfriend claimed that she needed hospital treatment after Antony attacked her at a Manchester hotel in January, he said, I wanted to go and told her that I had obligations and had to go. So she took plates and cups and threw them on the ground, and I grabbed her in order to calm her down. I didn't hurt her. I don't support this domestic abuse ever. It's totally wrong, 100% wrong. With this interview, Shreyas, should he have done this, or should he have just let the police deal with it? Where do you stand on this?
I think if I'm being honest, I think I would say that I think he's done the right thing. Because if he's genuinely innocent, like he knows that, everything that is being, going on, it has been fabricated, by different people, then I think it's the right move to actually, come out and, publicly defend himself. Because throughout all of this, since this whole debacle started about Antony, he has not come out and said anything like publicly. He hasn't stated anything up until now. And now that, he has been dropped by the Brazilian Federation as well for the national team, I think even he was able to, understand the gravity of the situation. And I'm thinking because he knew that he was innocent, he has come out and said it. Because for a person to be guilty and to come out and, have an interview with an ongoing investigation as well, with the investigations, they can go either way. It doesn't depend who says what. It just depends on the kind of material they have and the evidence they have. So the thing is, if he's come out and said this publicly, it means that maybe he's innocent, like he's confident in his side of the story.
Yeah, and a lot of people will be saying, won't they? They'll be like, why is he coming out and saying this? Why didn't he just leave it? Or why did he? It's easier said than done. Like, I know if I was in that situation myself, and I know that people were spreading lies, and I'm not saying we don't know the truth ultimately. We don't know. We're just seeing both sides of the story. But if he is, and these reports are coming out, are you saying you wouldn't defend yourself and come out and say something? Like, I know he's a professional and he's not supposed to do this or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I would want to come out and put my name. If my name's being dragged through the mud, I would want to come out and say, look, whatever's being said is absolute bullshit, and I can prove it. I've got evidence. I'm confident that woman's name will be cleared. Look, we know United released kind of a statement, didn't they? And they didn't really say that they was going to take him out of the squad. Do you think even that will be the same case, even after this interview now?
I think till the time anything comes out officially, like, it comes out that he's being charged, till the time there are no charges against him, I think he can still play for us. And the thing is, United actually cannot suspend him until he has actually been declared, or there is anything that, specifically points to Antony being in the wrong light there. If he's not, then United don't have the power to actually bench him or suspend him, because they don't have. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, the reason why Mason Greenwood was suspended instantly was because of the voice notes and everything, the images online. This is quotes at the minute. I don't know evidence level if
I think
police are looking at
one thing for certain is with Greenwood, the situation was completely different because everyone
Yeah.
knew point blank as to what was happening. With Antony, it's not the same scenario. It is
Yeah.
actually something which is actually really different to what's been happening with Mason Greenwood. And I would just say for a player to be suspended, there have to be valid grounds available to the club for actually to actually suspend him. That's why Greenwood
Yeah.
was suspended because the club had enough moral ground to actually say that we have this, we have this, we have this. You have been officially suspended from playing for us. You cannot say the same about Antony because there hasn't been anything up until now which has specifically pointed that Antony has 100% been in the wrong light there. It is still a question of his word against the victim's word.
Yeah, and you got to think how much of it. We know these things take a long time in it, investigating things and checking certain details, and they take a long, long time. So even if this, let's say, it isn't true, and these are just claims, and they're trying to get a bit of money out of him, whatever it is, the distraction that it's going to cause for the next, I don't know, God knows how many months, because that's all the media, that's all they're going to talk about, innit? So for the next, I don't know, even individually on Antony, you can't have your full focus on games week in, week out, and knowing how much of an important player you are to Ten Hag as well, it's going to be a huge distraction, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it will once again come down to the dressing room as well, as to how they react, as how the other players react to it. Because if they are actually on the same page with Antony, that he has been framed, there hasn't really been any wrongdoing from Antony's side, and this is all a fabrication. Then I think the squad has it in itself that they would come together and protect him. We've seen this team actually protecting certain individuals in certain occasions, and I think if they do believe Antony, and I still think that ever since this thing has actually come out, no player has actually officially come out and said anything. Like even with Lindelöf, I think they had a small interview or something, but even he came,
Oh,
he
yeah, I
didn't,
saw that.
yeah, he didn't comment on anything, which just showed that in the case of Greenwood, you could see players reacting to it. You could see players having a go at this situation, but they've done nothing when it comes to Antony, which just shows that perhaps this squad actually believes Antony's side of things, and if they do, then I think this Bruno and the rest of the players, they'll come together as a unit to protect him as well.
I thought it was weird Brazil dropping it. That's why I thought, oh, maybe there is actually something in this. Brazil dropping him, but then he's coming out. You just don't know. Well, that's why I don't want to go too much into one side and too much into the other, because of course you see when reports eventually come out, you might look like an idiot. So we'll wait to see developments on that. But he did get banned from Brazil and he won't be on international duty. Other players that will be on international duty, who I want to discuss, there's a few out there who put in some decent performances. Obviously, if you just go off our starting 11 on the bench, Onana is back with Cameroon now. I don't know if that's official, but he obviously hasn't played yet since June, I think it has, in the AFCON qualifiers, I think it may have been.
Yeah.
Wan-Bissaka, for whatever reason, just never gets a call up to England anyway. That's just bizarre for me because he's been like banging form.
Spectacular.
Rafael Varane is injured, so obviously, and he's also
he's retired as well.
Yeah, so he won't be playing anyway. Yes, even though I don't, is that helped really? Because with Varane, I don't know. Lisandro was on. I heard he was in the squad, but I had a look at the game that they played and
against Ecuador. He didn't. I don't think he featured.
Yeah, he wasn't even in the squad.
Yeah,
he wasn't even on the bench. But that's weird because he went away with Argentina, so I don't know. I must have missed some details there. I don't have a clue.
Maybe he's still recovering.
Maybe they just like don't want to rush him. And United have had words and sort of just said like, maybe just ease him into it. Diego Dalot had a very good game against Slovakia. 3 clearances, 2 interceptions, 1 tackle, 1 key pass, 1 out of 2 crosses, 2 out of 4 long balls, and 4 out of 5 ground duels. Yeah. Would you keep playing Dalot as our left back, or do you think that's too risky considering he's the only backup?
Till Luke Shaw comes back, I would play him. The reason actually being, right now he is in a very rich vein of form. Like if you see the game against Arsenal, I think he had a very good, genuinely a very good game. He was able to shut off that wing altogether. And even against Slovakia, he looked very decent. He was able to form some very good formations. He was able to command his flank and, actually watch out for his back post. He was positionally very sound as well. So I think right now, Dalot is in a good, he's in a good vein of form. he can keep building on it. And when club football actually kicks back once again, we'll actually be needing him more, because Wan-Bissaka and Diogo Dalot are the only two fullbacks right now in this team who are fit, and I would say who are actually able to give decent competition to each other at this moment as well. Because as good as Dalot is playing, I would say Wan-Bissaka is playing on a similar level right now, which makes it a good
Yeah.
thing, because you can keep interchanging these players without having a drop off in quality.
I'd argue they've been our best performers, to be honest with you.
Yeah, 1000%.
Anyone pick a name out of that back line and they've probably been our best performers.
And once again, now that you've got Højlund in, you'll need players like Dalot to be on the flanks, crossing the ball in again and again and again and again.
Yeah, because Wan-Bissaka doesn't do it, Rashford doesn't do it, and Antony definitely doesn't do it. So he needs that. Someone was saying to me yesterday, Bruno on the wing, are you mad? Have you watched him play? It's like, I know I'm not even a fan of Bruno on the wing myself, but Højlund needs them crosses. He needs crosses.
That's the reason. That's the reason I think when club football kicks back in action, I think Mason Mount will be available as well. Because it was reported that after it is only till international break that he's going to be out. After the international break, he's going to be into the team once again. I have a really strong feeling that Mason Mount would actually feature from the right wing, because for Højlund to actually show his true game, he needs to have service. He needs to have those crossers on the ball, and Rashford does not do it. But the players on the flanks who do it are Diogo Dalot, Luke Shaw does it. Antony does not do it, but Mason Mount and Bruno do. So probably you could see Mason Mount or Bruno actually shifting onto that right hand side and pinging those crosses in. Because now that you've got a true striker, now that you've actually got a striker who's actually very decent in the air and can take those chances, can command the box really well, has a very good grasp on his hold-up play, you need to be allowing him to be on the ball a lot more. You need to be providing him with those deliveries. And I think for that reason, Bruno and Mount, their availability and their fitness are going to be very key.
It's fascinating the options that they've got.
It's a good thing to have, One thing that has been over-criticized at Manchester United for so many years is that we've not got a thick squad. We've got a very thin squad when it comes to the attack. For a change this season, you can say the kind of tweaks that can be made, that problem of options, they need to be available to a manager for him to actually decide his, best 11, which player to use in certain games, which player not to use in certain games. And with the kind of youth we have actually got coming in those areas as well. Ahmad is going to be back pretty soon. Garnacho is still there. You've got Pellistri also. You've also got Kobe Mainoo incoming as well. You've got a very good set of players who can make up the bench and can come on and show what they're made of.
Some very tough games on the return as well. I mean, Brighton and Bayern Munich, such tough games.
I'm more concerned about Brighton than Bayern, to be very honest with you.
Probably, yeah. I just remember the games from last season in the Cup and in the League. Obviously, they were the only team to beat us at home last season, weren't they? And then the League game going to penalties where, to be honest, they were the better team, Brighton, in that game, 100%. So I am slightly worried about that.
Yeah.
But at least we've got options now to kind of choose from it. If Amrabat starts that game, I might not be as nervous. We might be okay, but we'll see what happens. Whilst we're on the topic of midfielders and 6 and 8s and stuff like that, Casemiro played for Brazil against Bolivia, beat them 5-1, put in a solid performance, 4 out of 7 long balls, 4 out of 5 aerial duels, 1 clearance, 92% pass accuracy. More minutes in the tank for Casemiro. Do you expect him to be back to his best when he comes back?
I actually saw that game. And for, a majority of that game, I would say Casemiro really dictated the play in that midfield. Like, you can see, him being able to come out of his shell, playing a lot more, being much more confident while slide tackling and making interceptions. And I think now that, he's got that, I think what Casemiro has always wanted in every single season is he needs a good game, like a very brilliant game. That's what he needs. And then he just kicks on for the entire season. If that game could be in this international break itself, and he comes back against Bayern Munich and he has a stellar performance, because once again he's a midfielder who's performed against Bayern Munich every single time that he's come up against them. So actually having Casemiro playing to the top of his level, I think that's what this team needs as well. Because if anything, I think our midfield needs to be very compact and they need to be at it once international break ends and they come back. So I think Casemiro is once again going to be a very, very big figure in that midfield this season. And now that he's starting to play well, now, he's been getting those confidence in, getting match sharpness in. I think once again people have, I think, been overly criticizing him in these first 4 games of the season. I think he'll come back and he'll show why he was one of the best midfielders in Europe for the past few
Well,
years.
we know we do a lot of analysis and we watch him every week in, week out. So we know Casemiro's a slow starter. It is what it is. It's unfortunate. It's pretty shit. But when he does get going, he's a monster and he's one of our best players, if not the best player in the team. So I have faith in him. One player who plays alongside him, who's actually decent against Arsenal, apart from the Ødegaard goal, was Christian Eriksen.
Yeah.
And again, we mentioned his stats yesterday, so I don't want to go back through him. But San Marino, 1 goal, 2 assists. Quite a few nice stats. But again, it is San Marino. San Marino? It's not Jose Mourinho. It's San Marino, not Mourinho. Yeah. Do you put this down just to the bad opposition, or do you actually see Eriksen having a decent season this year?
I think he'll once again be important, like I mentioned yesterday as well, because you need the players of the sort of Eriksen who, they're just a bubble of creativity when they come on into the field. They have that vision. They can supply with the balls going forward. Of course, when it comes to the defensive transitions, that's where he can be kept lacking. But, if you take that perspective out, and that's why, Eriksen's role actually amplifies in the games where you play up against a low block. Because in those sort of games, you don't have that sort of defensive duty. You've got more of the ball, you've got more possession. So in those sort of games, Eriksen's role will definitely be amplified. You need those sort of passes on the ball to break down those low block teams.
The thing is, I absolutely agree with that. I just look at a lot of teams now and they're getting better at counter-attacking. Like, I look at, I don't know, let's say Crystal Palace, for example, right, who will sit in a low block, will be very defensive, but they still have, players like Eze and little players like who can just cause problems. Like even Wolves, look at Wolves, with Sarabia and Cunha, when they just got into the middle and they would spring on it. So they're my only worries about that.
But that's why in those games I would actually play him in the 10. And I would have Casemiro and Amrabat behind him. Because
rotation, fluidity.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's why, if you have that sort of, defensive partnership as Casemiro and Amrabat, then that number 10 who's playing ahead of them, they can do whatever they want to. Because even if they lose out on the ball, you've got two players who've had that, they have that sort of scanning in their mind as to how they want to attack, how they want to close those gaps down. And then on the behind, it's still just 4 games of the season. When Lisandro Martinez comes back and he's fully sharp, when Rafael Varane comes back as well into that team, Luke Shaw comes back fully sharp, you will see a different Manchester United, and that's a certainty. Right now, we've got a lot of players who are injured, a lot of players who are not match fit, because of the way these players had to travel throughout the course of pre-season. It actually it took a toll on their bodies, and it was pretty evident. So when they come back,
about pre-season, said that. What they say now? It was like, it's not great for the body. Like to go to Houston and to here, there, everywhere. It's like you can't.
Long flights. These players will be jet lagged. And then they had to come back within a day. Some of these players had to play up against, I think, Athletic Bilbao in Dublin as well. So it's a lot of, traveling that they had to do within the space of just a week.
International duty as well, like 2 weeks after the season finished. Well, we played Man City. It was like the 6th of June, I think it was. And then it was back towards the end of June on international
24th June. The thing was, by I think 20th June, they had to meet up with their international teams at camps. So even though they didn't play, they didn't get a rest.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. I think obviously we know Bruno Fernandes got clocked the most minutes in Europe, didn't he? I think across the top 5 leagues for game time. I'd love to see it in a calendar year because that boy just kept going. And he actually scored a great goal against Slovakia last night. I don't know, did you see the goal, Shreyas?
Well,
really good. Bruno's against Slovakia. Drilled it in the bottom corner. 3 out of 3 crosses, 4 key passes, 1 out of 1 dribble attempts, 2 out of 3 ground duels as well. But how do you feel about the start of the season for Bruno? Because it's not been amazing, has it? I don't know. Well, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but in my opinion, I don't think he's had the best of starts.
Before I answer that, there are a lot of comments, so I'll go through them.
Go for it. Yes, please.
Dan in the chat saying our right wing is cursed. Can we remove the right wing position from football? And someone said Wenger should be aggressive but not at home. Then dancing Varane, Martinez, Shaw, Malacia, Mount, Amrabat, and Menu, as well as Ahmad. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players that are right now injured who can make up the first team. And then dancing Bruno is 29 years old now. Years are passing by quickly. And can Mixos, Shah Sam in the chat saying, can Mixos deliver crosses because the right wingers at the club are something else? And Angie in the chat is saying McTominay is on fire against Scotland playing as a forward. So would you? And Dan is saying McTominay or Wout Weghorst up top.
McTominay, yeah, 100% McTominay. We're going to talk about the kind of I use fringe like that, but fringe players shortly in a second.
Yeah.
Of course, we've just spoken about Bruno Fernandes. Keep getting your comments in, leave a like on the video for us, and subscribe to the channel. I think we're one sub of 3,300.
Yeah.
So if you that random person who's watching live, or if you're watching later on, please do subscribe to the channel. Just click it at the bottom right hand side of your screen. Yeah, obviously Antony didn't play for reasons we've already spoken about. Højlund got 30 minutes against San Marino, hit the post, had a few nice moments, but he is joint top goal scorer with Scott McTominay in internationals. Do you take much from that, or like? And again, a separate question as well. Did you see enough against Arsenal to get excited about his potential?
I was very excited, when during the live stream as well, when he came on, and the first run that he made, like, both of us just said that is something that we've not seen for like ages in Manchester United.
Yeah, Weghorst, Tin Man.
A striker just blitzing through the entire defensive line and trying to attack the ball.
Yeah.
So for me, I've seen a lot to be convinced enough to actually have him as a starter striker for us.
Yeah.
And as well as if I have to go by the looks of him being the top scorer right now in the Euro qualification rounds, I saw Denmark actually have not had. If I'm just speaking, according to Denmark standards, they've not had that many easier games. They've had some all right games, if I'm being honest with you, because San Marino, of course, is a game where you would expect them to win, but teams like, your Slovenia's, they managed to lose out to, I think it was Kazakhstan as well in the Euro qualification round as well. So they were under a lot of pressure when Højlund actually came in. And Højlund came in and started banging goals for them. Actually formed a very good partnership with Christian Eriksen. And there was one other player who they had, Lindstrom, on the left wing. He formed a very good partnership with that winger. Was able to complement Højbjerg quite well as well, playing in that deep line playmaker role, shooting the ball out, and Højlund, having that pace to actually, able to win ground duels and just go for goal. So with Højlund, definitely, right now his potential is, through the ceiling. So, he's still very young. So it can go in any direction, actually. Because he's still fairly young. And I think he's got the perfect manager to actually work under in Ten Hag, knows how to actually work with these youngsters. Now, if I'm talking about Scott McTominay, has been getting goals consistently for Scotland. How he fits into this team is something that is still not being chalked out from my end. Because if you have to see into the midfield, Bruno is irreplaceable in that midfield. So is Casemiro, and so is Amrabat. Then you've got the likes of Eriksen, who I would play up ahead of him. I would even play Mount ahead of him. So where does McTominay actually come in is something that
that's why there's so many reports about January, isn't it? Because there isn't a place for him.
Because the report being that maybe we swap him for Palhinha. If Palhinha comes in, I see a role for him in that midfield. But right now,
he'll get Casemiro's.
Exactly.
Palhinha will replace Casemiro. I don't know how old. How old is Palhinha? Do you know?
28.
28. Okay. Well, yeah, you've still got. He's in his prime technically now, but he's 3 years younger than Casemiro. So
exactly.
Yeah, maybe I would identify. I really like Palhinha first and foremost. I think he's really, really good. But maybe I'd like a bit of a younger profile to stretch into that role. But I don't know. Maybe that's I'm not entirely sure. But I know you're a huge fan of the player. Just sticking with the internationals. I know one message that's definitely out there at the minute is, I think Ten Hag has said to a lot of the international coaches, I don't know how they contact, whether it's fucking WhatsApp or if they fax each other or whatever. But I think one thing that's clear is he's kind of saying to him, don't risk him if you don't have to, because they're all coming back from injuries. Like Amrabat, for example, we've seen picked up with a slight injury, no, send him back. Like we need him.
Yeah.
Højlund just come from a back injury, didn't start the game, got 30 minutes. Lissandro weren't even in the squad, even though he's travelled with him. So I think that's one message in it that's clear from United, that they put out there and said, like, don't risk these players unless you have to, please. Just like kind of nice and easily wean them in, which is nice to see, because we need everybody fit and fighting when we get back. There's a couple of games that haven't happened yet. England haven't played. They play today at 5 o'clock against Ukraine. I mean, I'm not watching Southgate ball, but good luck to anybody else who is. Rashford should start against Ukraine, but But yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Started his goal scoring off against Arsenal. Obviously, his record against top six is really, really good if you've seen it before. But still relatively quiet in that game. Is that worrying for you?
I think he needs to, be more direct in his approach. When he gets the ball, he needs to be sprinting a lot more, especially when he gets around the midline. He needs to be taking defenders on.
Shreyas.
Yeah,
what he needs to do. Fucking pass the ball.
He doesn't pass, and for some reason, he doesn't even run anymore with the ball. When he has the ball, he stops. He keeps on looking around, then he passes the ball backwards. Same as Antony. Yeah. It's very rare to actually see them actually just bursting on with pace and then going in with the cross. That's something that we have not seen from Rashford or Antony in this season up so far. I think that with Rashford, he's blessed with pace. He needs to be, making use of that. The reason
express himself.
Why he's been put on the left wing is because he has got the pace to actually take defenders on, beat them, go in with a cross. And now that you've got someone like a Højlund, and you need that sort of profiles on the wings. I think Rashford needs to be, be more direct in his approach. Right now, he's a lot more hesitant on the ball. That needs to change.
I think this is why stats can be really manipulated, right? And I don't want to go in on Marcus Rashford too much, but how many performances did he have last year where we sat there saying he scored but didn't really do anything in the game, like wasn't really noticeable? And he's done the same, like in the Arsenal game, he rarely touched the ball, wasn't that involved. One moment on a transition, bang, he scores. I want to see him getting on the ball more. Or what I'm saying, I've seen him play them passes. Them like long range where he sprays it. I remember one to Greenwood ages ago. I think it was against Tottenham where it's just like complete switch of it. He can play that pass. I've seen him do it before, the switch or the little combinational play. I haven't seen that enough. Whether that's because we haven't had a really recognised striker and anyone for him to bounce off, like chemistry wise, I'm not sure. But maybe Højlund coming into that fold will do it because Højlund can hold the ball up. He's a big lad. You turn Bruno in there as well. Like maybe that would work. I don't know, but I am worried. I said at the start of the season, he can be a purple patch player. I just don't want him to up and down again this season. You need to see that consistency now because he's. I know he's only 25 years old, but I mean he's been at the club now. Obviously he's been at the club for most of his life, but someone's ringing the thing.
Yeah.
Very much for that.
Yeah.
Sorry, someone was ringing the phone, so it came through on the Mac. Look, we need to see a bit more from Marcus Rashford, don't we? I think that's not questionable. In terms of the sub Shreyas, you had Garnacho, who was an unused sub. How long do you think for Garnacho to push into that Argentinian team? Because they've got quite a lot of talent in them areas, haven't they?
Right now on the wings, they've flooded with talent. They've got this winger called Gonzalez, who plays for Fiorentina as well, who's present there. They've still got Di Maria, they've got Messi. On the same hand, they've still got the likes of Dybala, who features now and then from the flanks as well. They've got Julian Alvarez as well, who has been seen playing off the wing. So right now, they've got a lot of players in that department. And I think slowly and steadily, of course, they'll need to be replacing those players, especially Di Maria. I think he's reaching, his retirement stage now. So I think definitely, for someone to actually come in, Garnacho could be that person. Yeah. So I think an year at least for Garnacho to actually cement his place into that team. Probably I think when the Copa America kicks in, we could be seeing more of him in that team. But I think he'll slowly and steadily he'll make his place. But I would still give it a year because they've still got a lot of talent in that team.
Yeah, agreed. We spoke about McTominay, so we'll skip past that. Lindelöf against Estonia tonight. He could turn out to be a very important player. We saw last season with injuries. Varane's so flaky, man, and you've got Maguire and Evans waiting in the wings, which is that just gives me shivers up my back. But Lindelöf, I really think he goes under the radar a lot.
He does.
I don't think he gets appreciated nowhere near as much as he should do. Because every time he's come in, aside from the Nketiah thing that he did, where he basically booted him in the head and probably should have got a red card for it. Aside from that, whenever he's come in and done it, he's done a really good job. He had opportunities in the summer to go to Inter Milan and go to some of these other places, and he's like, no, I love United, I want to stay. So do you think he's underappreciated, Vincent Lindelöf?
Before I get into that, more comments.
Go for it.
Saying we should be getting players of the range of 25 years old. Still couldn't understand that when Amrabat was declared injured, why was he still allowed to travel for internationals just to get rejected? Angie saying when the sale of the club to Sheikh Jassim and 92 Holdings Foundation is finalized, this won't be a problem. If we get 100 million plus for Rashford, I'm taking it, Shasam. And Amrabat Angie saying Amrabat isn't injured. He isn't playing as a precaution, but he's back at Carrington for training. I'm afraid Garnacho is becoming more like a super sub than a starting 11 player. Reminds me of Macheda.
I think that's harsh to say it's similar to Makeda. He's got a lot more talent than Makeda, but I do agree he's better as an impact sub, but he's 18, 19 years old, man. Like
He's very young.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's young. Yeah, let the lad grow. There's a lot of talent there. I love his directness. I love his pace. I love his confidence as well. Sometimes people they just have to do that and then learn how to do it for the 90 minutes. As an impact at the minute, I'm happy to have that because when you've got an option like that, defenders tired, looking
against tired legs. Garnacho comes on with his pace. We've been seeing that theme last season, throughout last season, and even now, against Arsenal when he came on, he looked very bright. He was able to cause a lot of trouble on that flank.
If you're a wing back, you're terrified of him. And likewise, on the other flank, who we've got on the bench as well, your boy Facundo Pellistri. Quite a bright cameo for Uruguay as well. Let's have a look at the team before, actually. And they've got some interesting young talents in there, haven't
They've
they?
got a lot of
Darwin
interesting
Núñez,
talents. Yeah.
Valverde, Ugarte in midfield. They've got a few interesting ones. Again, how long for Pellistri to get to this? Has been the ever-growing question on it. I think we spoke about it so many times, but is it his time to shine now? Surely, because you saw there's a few key elements in this.
Yeah.
One, the right winger situation is up for debate at the minute. No one knows what's going to happen with that. Two, Ten Hag actually chose to keep him rather than send him out on loan. So he must have promised him some form of
game
time.
time would have been promised to him.
He deserves it now, doesn't he?
Yeah. And,
surely.
In that game against who did they play against? It was, I think, Chile. Yeah, they played up against Chile, and in that game you could see him and Fede Valverde were just bombing down that right hand side, and they kept on interchanging on that right wing position. They kept on attacking. That was a big area from where the goal came from eventually as well. And throughout the course of that game, you could see those interlinks he made with Darwin Núñez. Keep on interlinking, interchange. That space appears, and then he just begins to attack it. He's for the time that I have been seeing his play for Uruguay, he's been a regular starter for them in the World Cup, in this, World Cup qualification rounds, international friendlies. He's been someone who's been undroppable for that manager on that right wing position, and he is one of those wingers who actually keeps on supplying the ball to the striker. And you never know. Now that you've actually got Højlund in, you need someone on the wings to provide him with that service. And if you've got Pellistri, something that comes from Pellistri is that he loves to cross the ball in. He loves to, just be on the ball, maintain that hold up, wait for the space, and just go in with that extra pass. So, I think when he gets a consistent run of games like Garnacho did, Garnacho keeps on getting 30 minutes, 25 minutes regularly in every single game. Once Pellistri actually, is able to get those sort of minutes in his tank, you can see his game much better because now you'll be seeing it in a United perspective.
He starts a lot for him, doesn't there? So there's obviously a reason for that. Like he's trusted by the manager. I don't know who the manager is, but he's trusted by him and starts him regularly. So yeah, I think that will help with his development as well, won't it? You talk about certain players, Garnacho not playing for Argentina, maybe that'll stunt his development a little bit. They want as much game time as they can get at the minute to kind of improve the game, and Pleasure's getting that with Uruguay, so I think that's interesting. The last one, I mean, I don't think most people will be asked. Johnny Evans played Slovenia with Northern Ireland, lost. Apparently had a really good performance. I didn't watch it. I've not even bothered checking his stats. I saw online that he had a good performance, and then I looked at the scoreline and saw 4-2. I was like, surely not. How's he had a good performance when he conceded 4 goals? But apparently he did. So that's Johnny Evans on international. Again, not really asked, to be honest with you. Hannibal had a nice cameo against Botswana, but again, it is Botswana, so you kind of like not entirely sure about that. Just on Hannibal, bit of news coming out that we rejected a loan move from Turkey as well. But where's his game time going to come from? Where's he going to play?
Maybe
we spoke about midfield before that McTominay can't get in the squad. So
exactly my point. I don't get. You still don't know what his position actually is. Is he a winger? Is he a 10? Is he an 8? There's still
I don't know.
No actually, cemented position for him. Like if you speak about Garnacho, left wing you can play him. Right wing he can actually do a job as well. Pellistri, he's a winger. Ahmad, he is an out and out winger. If you look at Kobe Menu, he's an out and out 6, but he can actually, be so versatile that he can play in the 10 as well as an 8. He's an out, he's a complete midfielder you have got coming through from the ranks. With Hannibal, I've never been able to figure out what his actual best position in that lineup is. Even during the course of preseason, you could see him being played in that double pivot. He was never being played as that 10. So, if he is that player who's going to be playing in the pivot, Then you've already got Eriksen, you've got Casemiro, you've got Kobe Menu, you've got Amrabat. That's 4 midfielders already in there. And you can actually chip in Bruno or Mason Mount in that position. They can do a relatively good job in playing as the 8 as well. So that's 6 midfielders. I don't see Hannibal actually getting in. And then you've got Scott McTominay on top of that as well. So I still don't know as to how Hannibal actually comes in, because one thing for certain is whenever Hannibal will come on, he'll get a red card or a yellow card, with the intensity with which he plays. And he is one of those players who, whenever they've come on, I haven't seen that sort of quality that I've seen, like when Ahmad went on loan to Sunderland. You can see that sort of talent flowing from him. I've seen that from Garnacho, I've seen that from Kobe Mino, I've seen that from Pellistri, but I've never seen that from, Hannibal.
I don't see it personally. A lot of people like him and like the intensity that he brings and think he would fit perfect in Ten Hag's system. But it's like you just said, we don't know his position. I haven't seen an amazing cameo from him yet. I've seen bits where he's looked okay. I mean, he was the best player in the Wrexham game, which we did lose. But again, it was like that was a lot of youngsters in that team, and he stood out because he was probably the most seasoned player there. Another midfielder who he needs to go, because if we're talking about people not getting support, Donny van de Beek is just, I don't see him ever playing for Manchester United again. Apparently he's close to leaving Manchester United with Fenerbahce and Galatasaray racing to sign him within the next few days. I think the Turkish transfer window closes on the 15th of September, so you've got 6 days to get that deal done. Does he go? And if he stays, what do we do?
If he stays, he won't be played, because the thing that has been reported is that Ten Hag has actually kicked him out of the team. He's been kicked off from the squad.
He said the same to Bailly as well, and a few others. He was like,
they've been kicked from the squad. So even if he stays, it doesn't make a difference to Ten Hag now, because he knows he is not really going to be making use of him anymore. So the best thing for Donny actually right now is to actually get a move to Fenerbahce or to Galatasaray. That's the best thing that can actually happen to him.
I reckon Fred might have had a word. Where's Fred now? Is that Fenerbahce, right?
Fenerbahce, yeah.
Fred, yeah. I reckon if I was Fred, I would have gone over there and said, he can still do a job for you guys, in the Turkish league. Donny van de Beek, I reckon he could still be relatively good over there. Premier League, however, doesn't suit it at all. You look at the calibre of player that Ten Hag's bringing in now, physical, almost animals in a sense. Look at the Sandro and the spirit that he is. You know what I mean? He's got that fight about him. Amrabat's got that fight about him. He wants that core spine within the team.
He wants that from his wingers as well. Every single player on that pitch.
Yeah, Donny seems like the type of guy who's really nice, and he seems like this sounds really harsh, but he seems like the type of guy to get friend zoned. Donny van de Beek. That's how I see him. So
he's a very likable player. He's a very likable player.
He is. He really is, and he trains hard, and that's absolutely fabulous. But it's one of them. It's it's not worked out. I'm sorry. It is what it is. You go your way, we go our way, and we'll continue to develop. Unfortunately, Donny is somewhere watching this, crying with a box of Kleenex next to him, but. However, it's what it is. Like I said, we've got England in action tonight at 5 o'clock against Ukraine. I've seen reports Maguire starting, Jordan Henderson starting. I mean, I was backing Southgate in the last Euros, was it, or World Cup?
World Cup.
I am happy to sit there and admit that I'm wrong. I'm this guy, how can you pick Jordan Henderson, who's moved to Saudi Arabia at the age of 33, who claims it's not for the money, by the way,
when you can actually play Phil Foden in the 10, and then you've got Bellingham and Declan Rice in that pivot. You can do
Maddison.
that. Yeah.
Maddison there as well. He's got loads of options. Fuck me. I would play 5 or 6 people ahead of Jordan Henderson. 33 years old playing in Saudi Arabia. He should not be starting for England with the talent that we have in the squad.
And I still don't see Jordan Henderson being a player who is better than Declan Rice right now or Jude Bellingham. I would say right now, Jude Bellingham might be one of the best players in Europe the way he's playing. Yeah.
The only issue is with that, I would want Bellingham probably further. I think Maddison could play that 8 role. I do, but I would want Bellingham a bit further ahead just because the goals that he's been scoring for Real Madrid. I'd want him in that attacking area. He's a monster at the minute. He's just bagging goals for fun. But the way they're setting him up, I don't get it. And then you got asked about Maguire, and he's saying, well, we've not really got much experience in the team. You've got people coming back from injury. So Maguire's hardly played at all. Tomori's won a league, didn't he, with AC Milan? I don't get it. You got Levi Colwell as well, who's looking really good for Chelsea. I don't know. I'm a bit confused with this setup and the management in a minute, but I'm sure there'll be a lot of reaction to the lineups tonight. Like I said, I'm not watching the game because England bored the fucking life out of me. I couldn't give a bollocks about them anymore. So yeah, we'll see how they get on. Lindelöf in action tonight. I think there's one or two more who may be in action as well. So that is the roundup of our players on international duty. We've spoken about Antony's interview, spoke about Donny van der Beek. If anything else breaks whilst today, we will go live for it. So make sure you turn on the notification bell. Make sure you leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. If you want to drop us a follow on socials, all the handles are at the bottom of your screen. If you don't follow us on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, make sure you follow us over on there because we always post when we're going to go live. We always post the most recent news and we have clips from the shows and stuff like that. So please do follow us. If you want to become a member, still got a members video to do. Yeah. Which I'll either put out today or tomorrow. Make sure you click the button next to the notification bell and make sure you click the link in the description. Either way, it will take you to it. So, yeah, I think that's everything off the top of my head.
Yeah.
We will go live later if anything happens. Thank you, Shreyas, for coming on. Any plans for the weekend, mate?
Nothing much. Just waiting for club football to actually start again because this is very, very boring. International break is very, very boring.
Well, it's only 7 days until we play Brighton, right? Is that right? Yeah. 16th, I think we play them. So, yeah, maybe we won't.
Amrabat is able to start that game. Just hope Amrabat is able to start that game, and Lisandro is actually able to start that game as well.
Oh, God, yeah. But of course, we'll have the preview for that on Friday, the press conference and stuff. So, yeah, still loads of content. But look, it's international break. It is what it is. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Whether it's live or if you're watching later on in the day, we appreciate you. So, yeah, we'll see you in the next one and have a lovely weekend, everyone. See you later.